Hello and welcome to Auto Spec Scootz. I'm Comp. This is one of the cheapest electric bicycles that I could find on the internet. It was just over $200 and it has performed well. We bought 3 of them from different online retailers, put them through head-to-head tests, and this was the winner. Had the best range, had the best accessories. It has been performing well for me. I've been riding it every day. I actually just bought 2 more of them, and surprisingly and thankfully, those 2 more were almost exactly the same. I want to soup it up. I want some more power out of this. And one of the biggest things that I want is to have regenerative braking, where when you use the motor as a brake, which pulls energy from that and actually puts it back into the battery. So to do that, I'm kind of sketched out about this battery. I did a video where I did some disassembly and looked in it slightly, looked at the speed controller area of all 3 cheap e-bikes, check out the cheap e-bike teardown. But I really want to get in, and I kind of got some flack for not fully disassembling and browsing the batteries. Shout out Will Prowse. He does great videos of cutting open cheap batteries and actually seeing what's inside of them. So I'm also like, is there even a BMS or battery management system which helps balance all the cells? All the cells need to be at the same voltage in order to perform well and not fail. So I'm really curious if this thing has a BMS in it, what it looks like inside, what the actual internal build quality is. So step 1 of improvement, let's just check out and disassemble, full tear down this battery and see if it has a BMS. Let's get into it. So I undid all the screws from the top and took the top part off, undid the connector, take the screws off the bottom. Looks like it's mostly just kind of glued in there. Got a kitchen knife, see if I can cut some of this epoxy here. Careful not to cut other things. And I'm cutting on the non-battery side. Get that cut. Oh yeah, there we go. Slides right out. So it's just held on by those 2 bits, but then it's also hard down onto the bottom cover. And now to get inside of this thing. Looks like it's just kind of epoxied here. Let's see if we can just peel that away all the way around and see if it just kind of drops out. For $200 for each, right around $250 for these cheap e-bikes, they were quite impressive. We put them through some range tests, went out and rode them around out on the Outer Banks trails. Okay, that cover bit is coming off. Undo that. Let's be nice to the wires. Looks like there is a board in there. Kind of just undo this. It's mostly caulk. It seems like silicone caulk. Not really adhesive, holding things in. And there we go. There's that bit off. Looks like there is a board to it, which is nice. There is some kind of BMS. So we are looking at, I can only see TERRAE cells. 18650s, 30E. Yeah, they're Terre cells. And kind of sad that it's just lacking that extra row. I guess a little bit of cost saving, but let's peel this back. A little adhesive bits, and looks like this is BMS. So, that is good. Some Kapton tape on it. Over a bit of it. Everything looks decently spot welded. Pretty good spot welds to them. And it's got on the BMS just going straight to the P connectors and nothing to the C's on the BMS. Interesting. At least now I know there's some kind of BMS on this. I'm gonna grab the multimeter. 4.08. 4.08. 4.08. 4.081. 4.08. And it is not fully charged. So 4.08. Entire pack voltage 53.07. So, pretty well in balance. It is in balance and not imbalanced. But if I want to add regen, I mean, it charges through this port. And I'm going to change out the speed controller in it to be able to add the regen. But I'm wondering if I should add it to these C ports, because P's usually power out, C's usually power in these little BMS boards. .07 volts, 53.07 volts. I think I'm going to run it on just throwing voltage into it. And what gauge is this wire? Doesn't tell you. Feels like 14, but it's like Donggui Yu Yang Gong Si Gong. 40 amp fuse. 3P13S. Wonder what the RT pins are. And then there's also VTRG pins over here. And I'm not going to destructively get into it to see the other side of the BMS, but glad that there is a BMS in here. I can now sleep at night knowing that there is a BMS inside of this battery. The wonky one from Walmart, I'm not exactly sure on that one. From Walmart.com, sorry. So, I'm going to grab a little bit of glue and put this back together. And not like it was completely watertight anyways. I do have a current meter that I could put in line with this XT60. It would be interesting to see what's going on there. I don't really want to waste my nice glue. Wish I just had some caulk. We're gonna seal it back up. Side is a little curved. So get that slid back in. Right about there. Got my E6000 Premium. You cannot get professional welders adhesive anymore. So that's why I did not want to use up that, just to seal this back up. We'll just put a little bead around in there. And then gonna go out a little bit. Put a little there. And put a little there. Something about like that. And I think when I put it back together previously, I clamped that wire down a little bit. See, does this wire have a rating? No visible rating on that. All right, getting this all put back together. Good to know that there's a BMS, and I am confident that if I do send it voltage, send it some watts via Regen, that its BMS is going to be able to do some balancing for it. And my plan is VESC, VESC, and put that on there to be able to enable the Regen. And then we'll go through the process of programming the VESC as well. But just to prove that it still works, get this slid onto the rail. And somebody had sent me an email that they had bought one of these and it kind of rattles around, and yeah, mine kind of rattles around too. That there is a little bit of foam under there, might help it a little bit. Squirrel T1 still rips. Yep. Now we know there is a BMS, battery management system, in this cheap e-bike battery. Not the worst build quality, and not that I doubted it all that much that it didn't have a BMS, just I needed to see it with my own eyes. If I were to try and put regenerative braking via another aftermarket speed controller. I had just mentioned VESC, that is an open source, better ESC or electronic speed controller. Free programming software to it, and pretty cool units that you can take any brushless motor, especially if it's got hall sensors, and set it up with field-oriented control. We'll go through all that in another video, and fingers crossed that it works. So thank you so much for watching Out of Spec Scootz. Have a great day.